Goaltending Character. In this first clip here, we see Brassard with a nice pass to D, turned over right in the slot by his own guy. How does he handle it? Not a snap show, just gives him a tap. One of my former students, Jack Campbell, another great kid, always tapping his own guys and even tapping the opponents. He's the type of guy that builds respect, people like him. Great character. This should be a goal for you guys as a goaltender. Have great character.
Hi, I'm Samantha Jooyce McKeegan. Did you think you always had the entrepreneurship desire inside of you? I know you had started a business when you were young, before hockey.
When I was a kid, I started a grass cutting business like most kids do, and grew that to be a pretty big production, and then created a company called Blue Jay and sold that to a guy named Bruce Lively. Now it's a big company that does sprinkler systems and lawn maintenance, etc. But I've been an entrepreneur and wanting to make money ever since I was probably 10, 11 years old.
Obviously, you are a goalie coach, and that's the particular route you chose to take as an entrepreneur. Can you take us back to what made you first fall in love with hockey in the first place?
Well, I don't really have any recollection of my life before hockey. As a kid growing up, I always was playing hockey or going to practices, games, whatever. So hockey for me was never something I fell in love with. It was just like most Canadians, born into us.
Okay. After your career-ending injury, can you take us back to that moment and the decision you had to make to step away from playing professional hockey?
Well, making the NHL was a highlight of my life, as it would be for most kids that have played hockey. And I think once my career was taken away right after my first appearance in the NHL, I had to read and react. And I looked at it optimistically. You can spend the rest of your life going through being upset and pissed off at people because things happen. But I said, you know what? I had my teaching degree from college. I'm going to start teaching public school. I'm going to start doing the goalie school business. And at that time, there was no full-time goalie schools running year-round, private lessons, practice visits, clinics, summer camps. So at that point, I just decided, you know what, let's make it go. And I got school to fall back on to be a teacher.
If you didn't have a child at the time, because you had your first child, Christopher, at the time, if you didn't have a child, would you have continued to play?
I couldn't continue to play whether I had 10 children, and maybe I do, but I just could not continue to play with the medical reasons, the concussions I had. I didn't even know my way around my hometown. I had migraines that caused seizures. I felt like the ice was tipping 5 degrees, where I'd slide into the corner when I'm just standing on the ice, and I couldn't even find my way around anywhere, including my hometown. So it was something where I had to quit.
We all know by now about your hockey career. We'll leave that to the Google searches. Sorry, I'm gonna ask that one more time.
One game in the NHL, you must have sucked.
Yeah. We all know by now about your hockey career, but why did you decide to pursue goaltending as a hopeful career afterwards?
Well, I'd started working at hockey schools with Mitch Korn, Shamrock Hockey Schools, when I was currently playing, and I love coaching kids, and I got to see some role models there that were high school teachers that worked hockey schools in the summer, and I said, you know what, they got the great job. They get the summers off, get to work with kids during the year, and then do hockey schools in the summer, and I said that's what I wanted to do. So I've always had that as a career path in my mind. Even when I was playing, I was going to be a coach, teacher, and this just is the best of both worlds.
At the beginning of your business you created, can you share your memories about why you chose the name Future Pro? Was it something you always had in your mind, or did this name develop over the years of pursuing goaltending coaching?
Well, I sat down with Tracy at a kitchen table after I got hurt, and we're back home in London, and I said, I'm going to start this hockey school business, and I got to figure out what we're going to call it. And we wrote down on a sheet of paper, because that was actually before word processors, it was so long ago, and we wrote down the names Goalie Doctor, Steve McKeegan's Goalie School, and Future Pro I think was third on the list. And we just thought, naming it after myself with my pitiful NHL career, nobody's going to know who I am. Nobody heard of me then, nobody's heard of me now. Let's just call it Future Pro. And Goalie Doctor seemed too clinical. And
what does Future Pro mean?
Basically, people think it means future professional hockey players, and I'm in the business of creating future professional human beings. And most of the kids that I have come through the camp are not going to play in the NHL, they're not going to play junior, they're not going to play college, but they are going to be human beings and citizens. And so I treat my role and my mandate to make kids better as human beings and citizens, and the life lessons they can get from hockey. It's going to be great if they make it and go great places in hockey, but for me it's creating citizens and human beings.
that. All right, starting your own business, fully committing your time is very scary and financially stressful for a lot of people. At what point did you take the leap of faith, or did you make sure you were still able to balance a regular income?
Well, I was very fortunate because I went the scholarship way. I had a teaching degree, and I was able to go right into school teaching September after my career ended. So I had the stability of a teaching job where I could grow my business and see if it got traction, and if it did, then I'd be able to do that full time. And I think 2 years into teaching, I had a permanent contract up in Oxford County, and at the end of the day I said, you know what, let's just go full time and do something I love, and that's hockey.
Okay, you had a family young. How did this affect your passion for hockey, starting Future Pro, and balancing family responsibilities?
I think they're two independent things. Like, I always was passionate about raising my family and also passionate about the business, and they were perfect because they ran parallel streams. And being a goalie coach is actually good in building the business from scratch. Although I was running around a lot at nights, Michigan, all over the place, killing 3 or 4 cars, put on over 1.5 million kilometers on cars, going to do free clinics, free privates, etc. There was that commitment away from the family, but I would get the whole days off, basically 9 to 5, to do stuff at home.
I heard you say multiple times to your goalies, professional hockey is a goal and a dream to work towards, but you should always have a plan B to Z. Did you have other options if Future Pro flopped?
Of course, yeah. If Future Pro didn't take off and become what it's become now, I would have likely went back to being a full-time teacher. And I did it initially, and I would have continued to do it. And you know, if I looked ahead and Future Pro had died right now, I'd be a high school phys ed teacher a couple years away from retiring.
Do you feel like your time in the NHL, short-lived, and some would say, ever affect your reputation as a goalie coach or running Future Pro?
I think it's overall helped, and I think, you know, anybody that talks about you only playing one game in the NHL is normally somebody that's never likely got it at junior hockey themselves. So I've never really taken it personally, and having the credential of playing, coaching, and scouting in the NHL is something they can't take away from you no matter how long you did it. It's like if you get to Mount Everest, it doesn't matter if you stayed up there for a week, you got to Mount Everest.
How long did it take for Future Pro to gain traction?
Well, our first year, we had 57 goalies at the summer camp. I would go anywhere in Ontario that winter free of charge to help a kid at practice. I'd hand out 2 brochures to the kids coming on the ice, 2 kids that were at the practice, and then 2 kids after the practice. So I tried to come across 6 kids a night to give them brochures about the summer camp. And I did that all free of charge. And I think that's one thing I would talk to young entrepreneurs about is you've got to be prepared to grind for no money, and then you get your rewards later. So there's delayed gratification. And you know, I didn't get my first $1 million till I was probably 30 years old. And I think a lot of people want the $1 million now and not prepared to put the work in to get it. And I think people don't see the duck paddling under the water and all the work they do. And that's how we grew it from 57 to across North America. Now there's 1,800 goalies get trained by us every single year. I think that's the best advice I could give anybody is be prepared to do a lot of work that doesn't pay off now.
Yeah, you sound like Gary Vee when you say that. All these young kids want the social media and success the moment they put their idea out there. They don't actually put in the work it takes to create longevity. Would you say, because I know early in your career it was a whole different form of marketing. You didn't have online, you had yourself, and you had, you know, your posters at the arenas. You, just like you talked about, you gave physical things for people to take home. Do you still suggest that as an option of marketing?
I think it's important to market in every single way you possibly can. And when the company first started, we didn't have the internet. And if you looked at a graph, once the internet came a hold, that's when the camps really took off, because with us offering boarding at the house with 20 kids a week, we were able to bring in people from Russia, Korea, all over the place. And for me, I think it's foolhardy just to zone in on one level of marketing. So now we try to be very pervasive in the social media area. We still do posters, we still do physical handouts, and you can't be shy about doing cold calls. Every time I see a kid that's carrying a hockey bag, I walk over and give them a brochure, and I don't be afraid of rejection in any way. And half the time they would throw it in the garbage, but it only takes 1 out of 5 kids to take that brochure and end up coming to the summer camp.